Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. It's FPC Radio Live. It's Thursday, May 25th, and the Florida Panthers are headed to the Stanley Cup Final. We have one half of the participants of that final series, just like we have one half of the NBA Finals. John and I talked about Denver moving on just the other day over the Lakers. The Heat, the other South Florida professional sports team that plays primarily into winter, into the spring, has a chance to close out the series tonight, John, and the both of us are obviously hoping that is not the case, if anything, just so we can get some more basketball between these two teams. But no, obviously, it goes without saying, huge game for the Celtics, huge game for Miami, because, I think you can chuckle and laugh in a, game 4 loss when you're up 3-0. But if Miami loses tonight, and certainly if they lose in, a fairly dominating performance by the Celtics, there's not going to be too much laughing on that plane ride back to Miami for the Heat.
No, obviously at that point the pressure would be on Miami because they'd want to wrap the thing up at home in Game 6. If not, if you get to Game 7, immense amount of pressure on the Heat because this has never been done before in the history of the NBA. A team coming back from a 3-0 deficit to come back and win that series. And right now it's so strange, Ian, that when you look at the betting lines in Vegas, the Celtics to win this series are 100 to make 220, which isn't a great return on investment considering they have to win the next 3 games. It's just that Vegas has bought into the Celtics. All the analytics has bought into the Celtics. Remember, before the series, the ESPN analytics had the Celtics with a 97% chance of winning the series, which doesn't even really seem possible no matter what series we're talking about. So, yeah, there'll be pressure on Miami to try to get this thing wrapped up in Boston. And look, the Celtics and Heat have met 11 times in the postseason the last 2 seasons, and the road team is 8-3. So the road team has kind of dominated this series. If the Celtics though shoot 40% from 3, limit themselves to 10 turnovers, and play defense like they did the other night, they'll win. They're the better team, but is that going to happen?
Yeah, and look, I mean, we kind of brought up kind of the uniqueness of this situation, maybe why those odds aren't as favorable for anyone who wants to go out on a limb and bet the Celtics, is because more often than not, these 3-0 situations don't happen between a team that is the number 2 seed and the number 8 seed in the conference final. It's not even just the first round. We're 3 rounds in. This isn't a team that had a great regular season and then kind of just wasn't prepared for the postseason. We've seen that, and that is a little bit more, I guess, understandable. But you're 3 rounds in. You're on the cusp of going to compete for the NBA title. You don't normally see this situation. So again, that's why that possibility exists. That maybe as great as Miami was, maybe they were just playing well above their means. And I'm not saying Jimmy Butler was, but we've talked about it this entire series. Their supporting cast has just been phenomenal and something you just could not predict. If anything, you thought it was going to be one of their flaws because they lost that depth in Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo. So, but it doesn't seem to matter. The problem is, though, John, how long can that last? How long can Caleb Martin, not Zach Martin, as I said the other day? That would be actually pretty funny. A hefty size center playing back. Well, actually, they have Kyle Lowry. Never mind. We see that every time he gets on the court. No, I mean, you're talking about a guy that is playing, again, well above his means. Pretty much all those supporting cast. So how long can it last, John? And if the Celtics can somehow figure it out and just play their game, it may be enough to negate that. However, again, their struggles at home in the playoffs are not something to scoff at. And Miami 4-1 in the postseason against Boston in the last 5 games in Boston. So not something that's necessarily in their favor.
You look at how the Celtics played defense the other night. They were just much more aggressive. They were quicker. They contested shots, especially beyond the arc. Miami was 6 for 8 on non-contested 3-pointers, which that's a very high level as well. I don't care. If you're wide open, you still got to make the shot. But Miami was only 2 of 24 from 3s on contested shots. So contest the shots, right? Get out there, at least put up some sort of roadblock, get your hand up, cause the shooter to miss just a little bit. and you've got a better chance at that point. Now you grab the rebound, you can set up your offense quicker, so that Miami can't set up their zone defense, and now it just has that free-flowing give and take that the Celtics are really good at. Now, the Celtics can win with defense. They did it in Game 6 against Philadelphia, 95-86. Their offense was a mess that night. Remember, that's the night Tatum was 1 for his first 14, then he lit it up in the fourth quarter. So, Joe Mazzulla's talked all year about, well, when we're making our threes, our defense is better. Well, maybe flip it and make it more of a point to play great defense, because that'll be a constant next, and maybe set up your offense to be more effective. I think they have a chance to do this. I believe they're the better team. But the thing is, right now, Caleb Martin or whoever else on that team just has to have one more good game, and they can win. They've got 3 chances to win one where the Celtics have to run the table. So that does put a lot of pressure on the Celtics. But tonight, the Garden should be loud, but it's always loud. And the Celtics are 10-11 the last 2 seasons at home in the postseason, which makes no sense.
Well, and look, I mean, and this is, I said it the other day, if they can go out and capitalize on the crowd and really take advantage of it and lay open a, as Stone Cold used to say, open up a can of whoop ass. It sounds so corny now that I say, you know what I mean? If you say it out loud and you think about it, but anyways, you open up that particular can at home, and you kind of play off that feel of the crowd and everything like that. All of a sudden, that record in the past doesn't matter. I mean, really, the record doesn't matter now. It's part of the conversation heading into it. But they go out and, like I said, dominate this game. All of a sudden, that pressure is fully on Miami, because now you're going back to Miami, which you would think, okay, maybe that's that's not a great ideal situation, but we know the Celtics have been playing well on the road. And at that point, all of a sudden, like I said, that pressure is fully on Miami, because now you're like, maybe did we screw around a little bit too much? And if there's one thing we've seen so far this postseason, John, the Celtics tend to play their best basketball when they're facing elimination. 3-0 so far this season, and especially against Philadelphia, they showed up in those 2 important games, and so far they did that again against Miami. So now, ideally, you want to see them move to 6-0 in that particular situation. So again, there's some positives here, and I'm gonna hold my breath a little bit until we see what happens in the first quarter, and especially until we see what happens in the third quarter, John, because, well, as we know, it kind of can negate an entire first half based on how bad they can play in the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics blew double-digit leads in both games 1 and 2 at home. And look, that's more normal in the NBA now than it's ever been, because teams go cold from 3, teams get hot from 3, and all of a sudden a 12-point lead is a 6-point deficit. We saw that the other night. Miami was up 9 early in the third quarter. The Celtics go on an 18-0 run, and now the Celtics are up 9 and in control of the game, and that happened quickly. So you see more of that in the NBA. You just have to sustain your intensity for the full 48 minutes, especially now that you're again facing elimination. The whole thing, too, is get off to that good start. Maybe put a little doubt in Miami's mind. Miami's mentally a really strong team. They've got veterans led by Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry. They've got a veteran coaching staff. So I don't think they're going to panic in the situation. I know everyone's compared this to the 04 American League Championship Series between the Yankees and the Red Sox.
Including us.
And yes, why not? It's something to lean on. I mean, we didn't dare bring up the 2010 second-round playoff series between the Flyers and the Bruins, right?
You know what?
Right?
You know what? I was having a good day. We're about to talk to Jim. We're going to talk some Panthers moving to the Stanley Cup final. I was starting to get over it, but no, you have to bring up 2010. Why? Why, John? I'd almost rather you bring up 2007. Actually, you know what? Don't bring up 2007.
I won't do that either. But you're going to bring up the Panthers. I mean, that can't be good for a Bruins fan, right?
No,
I mean, they just beat the Bruins a month ago. So
yeah, but
are you over that yet?
I'm not over it. It's I feel I don't know if better's the right way to put it, but I feel I'm more content with it based on what they're doing currently, because they're going to the Stanley Cup final.
I would think the other way. Because now you look at it and go, they had no trouble with Toronto. They swept Carolina. The Bruins could have done the same thing and been getting ready to play.
They could have. I mean,
Vegas.
They could have, but at the same time, it's like, as much as I feel like they would have beaten Toronto, I mean, I would have bet my life on it. That series is still probably going 7 games because it always did, So like, yes, I do like. Maybe this is just me trying to cope. Okay, maybe it's like that meme that we see on Twitter all the time, where like that drawing is wearing like that mask where it's like smiling, but behind it's just crying uncontrollably. Maybe that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm just not willing to admit it yet. But I'm trying to
You
convince.
need one of those 800 numbers to call.
Yeah,
to make sure that you cope with all this stuff.
Yeah, well, like I said, either way, bringing up 2010 and that blown lead is not what I want. So we'll leave it at that. Hopefully tomorrow when we get on here, we're going to be talking about Game 6 between the Celtics and the Heat. But what we won't be talking about is a Game 6 between the Panthers and the Hurricanes. Hell, we're not even talking about a Game 5 because guess what? It's over. It's finished. The Panthers are heading to the Stanley Cup final. And Jim, surprise, surprise. Who did not see that goal coming in the final seconds of that game? I tell John all the time, I have this innate ability to see the future in hockey. And I saw that goal coming the second the Panthers started setting up in the offensive zone. You could just see it coming together. Agree or disagree, Jim?
Oh, you could see that coming a mile away. And, of course, it's got to be Matthew Tkachuk. Of course, right? It's got to be Matthew Tkachuk. Now, was the penalty soft? Yeah. For a conference final game? Absolutely. Considering what other things have been let go throughout the playoffs.
Yeah.
However, you still got to kill it off. And we thought we were going overtime, but we're not going overtime. And that's usually what happens with teams like this on a run. Matthew Tkachuk scores.
Game 7 against the Bruins.
Yep. Great setup. He's very patient, waits it out, finds the opening and scores. And look, give credit to the Panthers, man. The Cardiac Cats. They continue to do it. They don't go away. But give credit to the Hurricanes in this game, right? 2-0. The way Bobrovsky was playing. Everybody thought it was over in the first period when it was 2-0. Like, they're not going to score on Bobrovsky the way he's playing. Heck, they scored 3 goals on him first time since the first round because guess what? The Boston Bruins are the only team to score 3 or more goals on him.
Yeah, it's look, I've been wrong about a lot of things. I mean, a lot. I was very wrong about Sergei Bobrovsky this postseason. I still think he was okay in the Bruins series. He's been phenomenal ever since. I mean, it's just unbelievably great play. So I'm not going to knock him there. And again, I mean, the Panthers. What can you say about a team that just capitalizes on every single opportunity they get? And look, I don't think I haven't really seen it, but I don't think that was in any way goaltender interference. I know obviously they reviewed it, but anyone complaining about that is a Hurricanes fan or Rod Brindamore pretty much. So
I don't even think he complained about it. And he didn't even complain about it. Like, I think Toronto just wanted to make sure it was a good goal, and Bennett's stick was in there, but it didn't really deter from Anderson making a save. Actually, the fact his own guy got in his own way when he fell. So that's kind of what happened there. But you know what? Look, Carolina fought, and I agree with Brendan Moore. Yeah, did they get swept? Yeah, but it's not like they got obliterated in every game. Like, that's not the game I was watching. I saw the same game Rob Brendan Moore was watching. Yeah, did Florida physically outbeat them? And yeah, but every game was a 1-goal game, especially the first 2 games that go to overtime. But usually the team that, like, the stat continues to hold. The team that loses the marathon game continues to lose the series. That's a game changer. If Carolina wins that game, maybe the Panthers lose this series. We don't know. But again, every game was so close, and Florida just found a way to do it.
It's almost like, who would have thought that this series would have been so close and so low goal scoring?
We did.
We did. That's right. Because we this
did.
Exact scenario. Maybe not a sweep, but
well, I think yesterday was the first time it hit the over.
Yeah, exactly. And
that was the first game that hit the over. There's 7-goal total. But yeah, no, I mean, look, Carolina fought hard, but Florida, again, the power play, they exposed some weaknesses on that Carolina penalty kill that the Devils started to, but just could never capitalize. And now you see that the Florida Panthers are going to Stanley Cup final for the first time since 1996.
I was 10 years old 10 years old, 1996, a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, like, how did we get to this point? We're into the postseason. Like, all right, the Boston Bruins. Maybe it's Toronto's year. This is the year for Toronto. Can Tampa make another run? And no, it's the Panthers. It's the Florida Panthers. Now we obviously do not have the winner of the Western Conference yet. That could happen tonight. But Vegas is sitting pretty 3-0 over Dallas. It's kind of remarkable how the series in both the hockey, NHL and the NBA have both jumped out to 3-0 leads. Now the Celtics kind of ruined, the sweepstakes going on here. But we'll see if Dallas can kind of hold off on elimination. But I honestly don't think so. I think Vegas ends it tonight, and we kind of set up for what I think is going to be a pretty entertaining Stanley Cup final. I think two teams that, have a decent amount of star power. Obviously, Matthew Tkachuk is numero uno in Florida, but you head over to Vegas, and Vegas itself is a star, the city. But you also have guys like Jack Eichel, who now you're starting to see what he can do with that talented roster. And I mean, how happy is he to be out of Buffalo? I know it didn't look great upon first arrival, but not too long after, he's one game away from going to the Stanley Cup final, something that he probably would have never dreamed of being in Buffalo.
Yeah, look, I definitely think Jack Eichel's matured over the years. I think that locker room has got him maturing with guys like Alex Pietrangelo, Mark Stone, the original Golden Misfits, Marcia Silk. And I think, Bruce, I think having a familiar face too as coach also helps. Like Bruce Cassidy, those guys are Boston guys. Like they know. But I think Eichel's matured from his days in Buffalo. But a guy's a winner. He wants to win. Like, he doesn't want to be on a crap team for his entire career. And you know what? Buffalo kind of messed up on a lot of things. And yeah, he was coming off neck surgery. So, you know what? He still had a pretty decent year for a guy coming off neck surgery. Now this is the Jack Eichel we know and, we love and what he's going to do. And he's got a feather in his cap. Like, with Crosby and Ovechkin, Crosby beat him. Well, he's beaten McDavid, the guy that went before him in the draft. And he's a win away from going to a Stanley Cup final. And I think Vegas is the most complete team. I even said this to you when we were previewing this Western Conference final. I like Vegas. I know their goaltending is not high level, but you know what? They play a great defensive game in front of him. They clog up the neutral zone. They just don't go away like the Florida Panthers do. And it's just going to be a great series when it happens. Look, Vegas got to still close out the deal, which I think they're going to do tonight. I think you're going to see another sweep, and unless Dallas stays disciplined and Vegas just mails it in for a game, I just don't see it. I think Vegas is going to a Stanley Cup final, and then we're going to be teeing it up next week.
Yeah, it's not like we're going to see another 2010, right, John? Bruins and Flyers.
By the way, I was in Boston. I was in Boston for when the Flyers won Game 7.
After the Bruins had a 3-0 lead in Game 7, too.
It was crazy. Oh my God, you could hear a pin drop in the bar I was in because my buddy was graduating college, and I went up for the ceremony, and you could hear a pin drop in that bar. Yeah. But then everybody got excited because Brian Scalabrine showed up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, you have to kind of that was very 2003 Yankees Red Sox for the Bruins, which was obviously a heartbreaking loss, but really kind of was part of the foundation that helped them win the following year, and kind of the same with the Bruins. Because the good thing about that is, and John kind of just brought it up, and I got upset because I'm still grieving the Bruins' current loss, and as I said before you got on, I'm better, I guess, because the Panthers made it, because it kind of makes okay, they're just on a run, and what can you do? But then I can't help but think about the Bruins being up a goal with under a minute left in Game 7, and then I just sink into that sports depression. But no, in that 2010 series, that was great, because obviously the next year they came back and just swept through the Flyers. I'm with you, Jim. That's not going to happen. Vegas is too good. I think Dallas just In that series with the Bruins, I think important things happened. The David Krejci injury, the wrist injury in Game 3, which knocked him out the rest of the postseason, essentially. That was huge and really led to that collapse. I don't see that happening. I think Vegas is too good. And then you're setting up a series that has that feel that, yeah, with all the good things that Vegas does, all the good things that Florida does, it's going to come down to goaltending. And like I said, I've been wrong about Sergei Bobrovsky this postseason, so I'm going to accept that, and I'm just going to say, well, in that case, how can you not like Florida in this situation? Because, well, you said it earlier, yeah, Vegas's goaltending isn't great, but Florida's goaltending has been great, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, Florida's goaltending has been great. Bobrovsky's stopping everything that he sees. Obviously, he gave up 3 goals in Game 4, but other than that, he was phenomenal. And the goals that he was giving up, a couple deflections. And look, Vegas has firepower to match Florida, but is Matthew Tkachuk's will to win, to carry this team to a Stanley Cup final, and do a Stanley Cup championship, what he was brought into? Well, guess what? On the other side, you have players feeding off an owner in Bill Foley, who said the Stanley Cup was coming to Vegas within the first 5 seasons. Now, that didn't happen, but let me tell you something. This Vegas team is on a mission to win. It reminds me of when the Spurs won the NBA championship after they lost to the Miami Heat that one year, and they came back and they were just on a mission to win. When you see a team that's on a mission, that feels like that Vegas is on a mission to just, we want the Stanley Cup. We've been here before. We know what it takes. We made all these adjustments because we've lost in all these conference finals to get back to this moment. It just feels like this could be Vegas's year. Look, you're going to have a first-time winner when Vegas does wrap up this series with Dallas. You're going to have a team listing the Stanley Cup for the first time since 2018 when Washington and Vegas played. So it's going to be great storylines when it happens. I mean, look, you can't go wrong. You can't be a hockey snob and be like, oh, well, there's no traditional markets. You know what? This is what makes the game so good, because you don't know what's going to happen. And you would also, these same hockey snobs would also be saying, hey, well, I'm getting tired of seeing the same matchups all the time. Well, here you go. Here's a fresh one. Vegas and Florida is probably going to happen in a Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, and look, I mean, if you love hockey, you want casual fans, you want the fringe fans, because that's what grows the sport. I mean, look at the NFL. I mean, how many people tune in solely just to watch their team and know nothing about the rest of the league? That's a lot. That's a lot of people. You also get people that don't really know anything that could sit down on a Sunday. Now, again, their setup is a little bit more, prone to bringing in casual fans because it's Sunday and you watch everything there. But yeah, if a hockey purist, you want more fans in. You want the fringe fans. You want the markets that haven't experienced that championship success. Look at Tampa, and I live down here now, so I kind of see it firsthand. It's like they're a very good hockey market, and this is a team that capitalized on winning early on in their existence and have now. I mean, does anyone look at Tampa and say, "Oh, that's not a hockey market"? Yeah, of course it is. I mean, they just came off 3 straight Cup final appearances. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's a sports town too. It's not just the Lightning. It's the Rays. It's the Bucks. They're building, and they're all intertwined together. Like Tampa starts the River Parade with the Stanley Cup. The Tampa Bay Bucks follow it up. Maybe we'll see the Rays do that. And then you got Florida. Now you're intertwining Brooks Koepka, the golf world, Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler's wearing a Tkachuk jersey. You're getting Miami Dolphins coaches showing up. You're getting players showing up. Like, that's what you want. That's what the league needs is, so yeah, we get the celebrities in New York and LA, but now you're getting it in Florida, and you're intertwining the different sports, and that's how you grow the game.
And it's not just celebrities, because we get hockey celebrities are like Ryan Reynolds showing up doesn't matter. Like, we know he's a hockey nut. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? That's not that crossover. And yeah, Braden, I don't think Brooks Koepka has slept.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. He's been partying. Him and Brady are probably drinking out of that PGA trophy constantly.
Still doing it. But yeah, it's like, we're not talking about the hockey celebrities, which obviously that, hockey fans love and everything. We're talking about the crossover stars. Where's the Jack Nicholson? Where's that star power where it's like all of a sudden you start seeing them show up at these hockey games, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, it brings attention to the sport, and that's what we want, because it makes the sport better and more exciting, and obviously more fans, more attendance means more cap money and more money in general. So, I'm going to put words in your mouth. Vegas closes it out tonight, right?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, Vegas handshakes tonight, as we like to say.
Yep, I like it. Then we're going to have some time to preview the battle between the Florida Panthers and the Vegas Golden Knights. So we will do that on the show, because we're going to have Jim back soon, and of course John and I will talk about it. But that's going to be it for us here today. We will be back tomorrow again. We're going to hopefully be talking about a Game 5 between the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. I'm sorry, a Game 6 between the Miami Heat and Boston Celtics. And then hopefully maybe we'll be previewing a little bit of Stanley Cup final action. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will talk to you then. Until then, have a great day.